Item 12, audience, an opportunity for citizens' participation.
Members of the audience wishing to address council may do so by first completing the form, providing it on the stage here where it has audience participation forms. Speakers are reminded they have 3 minutes to address council, and that when the timer sounds or asked by the chairman, they must conclude their comments. I'll give you a 1 minute notice to give you an idea of how much longer you have to speak. Speakers are further reminded to please state your name for the record, and council members are prohibited from answering questions or commenting during audience participation. Our council rules procedure provides that only the chairperson can respond. The first person is Allie Van Rusten. Next person is Chris Shelton.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Chris Shelton. I'm concerned about some things with respect to agenda item 10D, which was tabled, approving Animal Care Hospital of Sterling Heights to house and shelter community or stray animals. First of all, I wanted to talk about the fact that veterinarians are not generally equipped to simply begin acting as animal shelters. Their business plan was originally written to allow them to effectively care for sick animals. We're now asking them to perform all the functions of an animal shelter, which would be to house and care for all shelter-based animals brought in, keep the stray animals separate from the sick animals, find homes for lost dogs and cats, and acquire resources to adequately manage all the above with paperwork involved. And I'm sure I'm missing some things. It's hard to imagine that the business of the animal hospital is not going to suffer along with the welfare of the stray animals that will be brought in and housed there. I would expect many of the animals that were brought in to the animal hospital to ultimately be euthanized. As the officer talked about earlier, with all due respect, that we've been doing the same thing for day after day, year after year, month after month, and for decades. And he asked for that to go on for another 4 months. But I would say that things that we've been doing forever and haven't worked, that we need to change. We've been practicing catch and kill for 30 years. And the amount of stray and feral cats from the 80s has gone from about 50 to 75,000 to 650,000 in 2011 in the Metro Detroit area. So what we've been doing hasn't worked. For every animal that we pull off the streets, there's a space left for other unsterilized to simply just fill in. And also sterilized cats left in place, as was mentioned earlier, are our best defense against rodent overpopulation. Beyond everything I've mentioned, does this make financial sense? We just learned today that we've got a program for Macomb County that will sterilize community cats for free. We need to adopt volunteer-based programs like TNR and SNR to ultimately reduce the number of animals being brought into shelters and in turn reduce the city and taxpayer costs of holding, euthanizing, and disposing of these animals. These costs of sterilization, the cost to trap, transport, hold, euthanize, and dispose of a stray, and a cat in this case, can cost upwards of $200. And this program that we're talking about for SNR is free. Another thing I wanted to mention is that sterilization reduces and or eliminates most of the things that cause citizen complaints like noise, odor, and roaming of the cats themselves. Thank you.
Yeah, I was just saying you have 1 minute left, but if you're done, that's great.
I was done.
All right, thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Dr. Matthew Brusick. Chesterfield.
Good evening, Council. My name is Dr. Matthew Bruzek. I'm a Director of Paws for the Cause Feral Cat Rescue, and I'm also here to talk to you tonight about item 10D, the proposed agreement with Animal Care Hospital of Sterling Heights. I first want to say I can sympathize with Deputy Galasso in his feelings that some of the decisions that were made by the county animal shelter were, for lack of a better term, forced through. And I understand that fully. We were very involved with various rescue organizations and other cities in the county when this when this notification came up, and it has been a very big source of contention, not just on on the city level, but also with the rescues in the community. One of the issues at hand with the agreement with Animal Care Hospital, as the previous gentleman mentioned, is cost. And I'm aware that there's been a fee increase on behalf of the county animal shelter, and this has forced some cities in the county to look elsewhere for services. The program we are proposing presents a cost savings to this city. The program we are proposing is a managed TNR program. And I know we've been throwing a lot of acronyms around about this tonight. You've heard SNR, which is stray, neuter, and return. TNR focuses solely on feral cats. There was some question as far as the legality of just abandoning an animal. I would like to clarify some of those legal issues for you if possible. Feral cats by law are not considered owned pets. They're considered wild animals just as raccoons, possums, squirrels, or birds are. So that law regarding abandonment of a pet or an animal does not apply to wild animals, just like you can't abandon a raccoon. You can't abandon a feral cat. The Department of Ag is also well aware of the move made by the county and have stated that they know that this is a situation that each of the cities and the municipalities are going to have to review on a case-by-case basis, that it is not a blanket law that can be applied to every city in the county and every county in the state. So let me get back to the expense issue that, again, the previous gentleman talked about. The current guideline for shelters requires that the animals be held for a set period of time, a number of days. Off the top of my head, I believe it's at least 4, possibly 5. And if no suitable home is found or no owner is located, the animal is then euthanized. This results in expense for the city. In the case of ferals or free-roaming cats, a hold period followed by euthanasia is almost 100% guaranteed. These cats are not going to be adopted out. They're not going to be found homes. I don't care what Animal Care Hospital of Sterling Heights tells you, they're going to be euthanized. A TNR program, or trap, neuter, and return, can mean a cost of no more than $25 for cats and will be free for the first year through the county.
Dr. Bruce, could you wrap it up? You're well over 3 minutes.
I am. Oh, okay. I apologize.
That's all right. Just conclude.
Basically, in conclusion, I think that Warren has the opportunity to move forward with a very progressive yet very humane approach to handling some of the problems that you're dealing with right now. And I'm not asking for a 100% agreement with the county. I'm just asking us to review perhaps the no free-roaming animals ordinance at this time and maybe re-examine some of the other issues at another day. Thank you.
Thank you. The next person is Jill Ross.
Hi, good evening. My name is Jill Ross, and I live in the city of Royal Oak. My boyfriend is here tonight, and he lives at 4045 Heatherwood Court here in Warren. I'm here tonight to discuss the item D, consideration and adoption of the resolution for the animal care agreement. Some of my questions to you is, how is a veterinary establishment going to manage all the intake of these feral animals? Who will determine what is a feral cat and what is a domesticated pet? How is the vet office going to keep their paying customers away from the intake of the stray cats? What is the actual cost of euthanizing all these animals per cat in a humane way? I called Gas Cow Vet in Birmingham, and the cost of humanely euthanizing a cat is $66. To trap, neuter, and return a cat is $25 if I pay for it myself, which I have. How will your residents be able to search for their pet if their pet is lost if you keep taking them all in? The agreement you have with Animal Care Hospital is where is the agreement and the cost breakdown so the residents can see what will supposedly save the money from the process and the process of that. Your city has decided to euthanize these animals. All About Animals in your own city of Warren has offered to spay, neuter, and return these animals at a free cost to you for the 2014 year, which your city, I understand, has turned down. And that's from Catherine at All About Animals today. She told me that. Your city is deciding to euthanize in order to solve this issue. All About Animals has provided education for trap, neuter, and return program to all the surrounding counties for volunteers to reduce the amount of unwanted animals. Only 2% will go back home by taking them in to the clinic. And if you leave them alone, they have a 66% chance of getting them back home if they're returned on their own. If you're deciding to contract to kill versus to solve the issue. Educate yourself about colonies of cats. I challenge you to go to All About Animals and take the $10 class and learn about the issues that you're voting on today. I challenge you to put a time limit on this issue, and after 1 year, I find it's an appropriate time to look at the statistics on the numbers and problems areas of your surrounding communities. I'm asking at this time a certain percentage of the intake be TNR'd, as the same cats are controlling your rat and mice population. I ask to educate yourself on this issue until you've received all the facts and education about spay-neuter in return for your community. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next person is Courtney Pratt-Sanders.
Good evening. My name is Courtney Pratt-Sanders, and I'm actually here tonight in a professional capacity. I represent the Michigan Political Action Committee for Animals. I'm a trustee member. We operate throughout the state of Michigan. We organize voters into voting blocks, and we endorse candidates based on their voting record for animal-friendly legislation. So first of all, I congratulate you tonight for at least tabling this issue and giving yourselves a chance to be educated, look at an amendment that maybe hasn't been before you yet. You have a very large and energized community, and that's a great thing. It means they're involved, and it means that they want to see the right thing done. From our perspective, they've spoken overwhelmingly that they do not want to contract with a private veterinarian to take care of their animal control services. And you've heard a few people tonight mention specifically why that is, and we want to reiterate that. As a pet owner, how am I going to know to go to a private vet clinic in Sterling Heights to look for my lost pet? And I can tell you, as someone who's been involved in animal welfare for over 15 years, a private vet clinic does not have the capacity to service 4 cities and your animal control services and vet care. They don't. I'm sure they're well-intended. However, running an animal shelter is not something you just decide to do. You can be in the industry, run a boarding kennel, doggy daycare, be a trainer. It does not mean that you can run an animal shelter. Shelter medicine is completely different from veterinarian medicine of owned pets. The care and all of the regulations and the paperwork that goes with it, you don't learn overnight. It takes experience and qualification to run an animal shelter and all of the things that come with it. So although they are, I'm sure, completely qualified to provide veterinary care for owned pets, we question whether or not they're able to do that for displaced animals. The police officer who spoke tonight, I'm sure, is well-intended. However, I urge you to speak directly to Macomb County. Not all of his statements were accurate in terms of the program Macomb County is offering. The fees were not drastically increased. The fees actually went up in April 2013, and this year they're being waived. So I don't see how cost is the issue. Just like the gentleman spoke before, abandoning an animal in the state of Michigan does not apply to this issue. Think about rabbits. We have domesticated pet rabbits. We have wild rabbits. They're treated in 2 completely separate ways for a reason. Feral cats are not socialized. They're not pets. They do serve a purpose in our community. They have been here for 10,000 years, and that's just a fact. You cannot eradicate them. You cannot catch and kill. As soon as you move a colony, a new one moves in. They're there for a reason. There's a food source and a shelter source. So you have to look at all their alternatives. And right now you have an opportunity for humane, low-cost, no-cost solutions that your residents want. So we thank you for taking the time to look at this further, and we'll be in contact with you later. Thank you.
Thank you. Joseph Hunt.
Good evening, Warren City Council. Joseph Hunt, 8306 Stanley, over in Section 15 of the city, Macomb County District 2. Through the chair to the city attorney, why are the committees as a whole basically not open to the public when it comes down to the settlement agreements? Also through the chair to the city attorney, why are the CDBG technical committees not open to the public? Also through the chair to the city attorney, I have to question why it is that all of the boards and commissions that are assigned by ordinance are not filled or even attended to. And of course, I can ask through the chair to the city attorney many questions, but the city attorney has once again decided to disappear during audience when members of the city come up here and respond to various aspects of the legislative body's adaptations towards his recommendations. First and foremost, with the cats and stuff like that, I asked several years ago, why is it that basically that according to the state law, the 100-year state law, that the city does not mandate that every pet in the city be licensed? But now we're all of a sudden picking and poking as far as what is right and what is wrong regarding catching and killing cats. There should have been a no-kill shelter that was talked about 5 years ago. The Animal Welfare Commission talked about it 2 years ago, and of course it goes nowhere. My question, of course, is why don't we have a communications commission? Why don't we have a publication and mailing commission? Why don't we have an investment policy commission? And of course, last year you dropped the ball on the elected officials compensation commission. So we have all these various commissions that don't meet, and of course, through the chair to the city attorney who's not here to answer that, what happened to that list? You were going to ask the attorney's office for a list of exactly what were the assignments of the various boards and commissions and authorities that each of the members of the public who have taken an oath, just like you have to the state of Michigan and to the Constitution of the United States. Why are you, the council, not interested in citizens filling these particular commissions? I have to commend Kelly for bringing up the HUD, the Housing and Urban Development issues, because quite simply put, I didn't think a lot of the answers that you had gotten today were real answers. Specifically, I submitted a Freedom of Information Act request 2 years ago for the bi-monthly meetings of the CDBG Technical Committee, which were meetings open to the public back then because they dealt with the expenditures of taxpayer dollars. At this point, the question comes down to is why is it that this nuisance abatement hearing or the administrative hearing is not also open to the public, and why, of course, under the Housing Act, through the chair to the city attorney, is the hearing officer an employee of the city in conflict with the Housing Act law? I can ask all these questions and never get the answers, but like I say, you know, the issues here regarding this emergency ordinance of the fire hydrants, gee, you know, it's a lot of snow, and you never ask the question, what is the fire department currently doing right now to when they have to respond to a fire? What equipment do they need on their rigs in order to get to the fire hydrants? And of course, I'll bring this up, there's a out-of-service fire hydrant at the corner of Stanley and Arsenal. That's my street, and I hope my insurance doesn't go up. You might want to look into that. I thought I'd bring it up. I don't know who does everything, but you know, the city attorney's coming back now that my time is done. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Hunt. Now, Karen Springer.